My Daughter's Keeper presents Alone Against the Tide, a solitary Call of Cthulhu scenario by Nicholas Johnson and friends, with special presentation by Sound Realms. Episode 2, Man About Esbury.
Your business here is completed. You see the crowd staring covetously at the newly acquired items, and you spot Amelia looking smug and satisfied with a leather bag full of cash. Mr. Warren begins to clear away the tables, while Officer Powell stands by the door and directs people out of the building and into the ever-thickening fog. Though some seem content to stay and socialize, you feel that it would be best to go bed down for the night. You pull someone out of the crowd and inquire as to where you can find a room to rent. You're directed a few blocks into town to a modestly priced hotel a few buildings down from Esbury's police station. You wake in the morning grateful for the rest. You rise from your bed and take in the modest surroundings that make up your room. The furnishings are sparse, a small, poor-quality dresser and a cramped and dusty writing desk tucked in the corner. Sitting atop the desk is a plate of eggs and toast, apparently set out for you by the hotel's owner. The walls are plain and unadorned, save for a single window that faces toward the lake. However, this view is currently blocked by the incredibly thick fog, which has taken on a pale green hue. Your vision is obscured entirely, and you cannot see into the depths of that outlandish green mist. You also notice your personal belongings placed around the room exactly as you left them the night before. After getting dressed and eating the modest breakfast set out for you, you're ready to begin your day. You take a moment to consider what that means for you. Your mind turns to Professor Harris. If you're so inclined, you might be able to investigate the circumstances of his death further. Considering that you don't have his widow Amelia's address, you would have to start your search with the official report filed with Officer Powell at the police station. Alternatively, you could take this free time to look through your belongings and examine any items you might have. The hotel owner has been in your room, so a check of your things might be in order. Or perhaps you have some other reason to look over your possessions. Finally, if you feel that your business in Esbury is concluded, you could always try to find Lance Sanford at the ferry.
I don't like it when people look through my stuff. Let's just double-check through, shall we?
A cursory inspection of your personal belongings reveals that nothing is amiss. All of your possessions are just as you left them. While you are here looking things over, you can take this opportunity to more closely scrutinize items bought at the estate sale. Alternatively, you may leave and go explore elsewhere if your curiosity is satisfied.
Let's have a quick look at the journal whilst we're here.
Though you glanced at the notebook during the estate sale, you haven't had time to properly look it over until now. Reading through the book, you become deeply engrossed and spend the next few hours in study. The time spent yields valuable information. Professor Harris made several trips to India starting about 12 years ago. During these visits, he went to multiple sites to make observations and recover artifacts. His longest and most profitable trip appears to have been 10 years ago, during an excursion to Sarnath, India, where he writes about recovering several items from an active Buddhist shrine. Apparently, Professor Harris did have some regrets about this theft, but he couldn't resist taking the artifacts for his personal collection. The descriptions of the items he came across in Sarnath match some of the items at the estate sale last night. The clay cylinders, the gemstone-encrusted altar, and the lizard-like idol are all described in detail in the entries related to his trip to Sarnath. These same items then appear throughout the rest of his journal. He'd clearly been studying them over the past decade and developed something of a fixation with them. It was the idol that initially caught Harris's eye, and according to him, the depiction of the great and grotesque water lizard matched no description of any known Hindu deity. Hoping to find clues to the idol's identity, Harris set about trying to translate the mysterious script on the cylinders and the altar. In doing so, he met with significant difficulty, as the text was only barely recognizable as an archaic dialect of a pre-Sanskrit language. The process was slow and painstaking until about a year ago. At this time, Professor Harris writes of having a strange and enlightening dream. He reports walking in the ancient world from whence these items originated, a grand city of marble walls and onyx streets, of bronze gates and marvelous palaces and gardens. He writes of visiting the 17 tower temples of this ancient city and meeting the bearded gods who dwelled there, sat upon their ivory thrones. Harris calls the strange place Sarnath, despite the sheer impossibility of this. He claims that among the temples he learned the secrets of the ancient writing. His next entry goes on to describe the odd clay cylinders as the brick cylinders of Kadatheron, though he hadn't yet identified the other objects. The next few pages have been torn from the journal. The entries resume with more mundane matters, though there are still references to the artifacts from time to time. The most recent entries in the journal speak of Harris's daily studies and living with Amelia. It's clear that he cared about her deeply from the way he writes about her, but he laments that his studies keep him from spending the time with her that he would like. Instead, he lavished her with gifts and money, which she was all too happy to accept. He notes that Amelia had never been happier, despite the distance between them. The last entry to catch your eye is dated a little over a week ago. Apparently, the pages torn from his journal went missing only recently. Professor Harris expresses deep concern at this, as there were no signs of forced entry to his study, and only he and Amelia had access to it. You finish your reading by glossing over the last week of the professor's life, which is rather uneventful and peaceful beyond his continued obsession with the artifacts and his occasional worries about Amelia.
Okay, I think it's time we head to the police station then, don't you?
You step out into the greenish mist. You feel it clinging tightly to you as you make your way the short distance to the police station. Upon entering the small brick building, you are struck with a sense of claustrophobia. The walls here are uncomfortably close together and space is tight. Crammed into the tiny structure are a large desk, several filing cabinets, and a few chairs. A closet-sized holding cell with iron bars sits at the rear of the room. Behind the large desk is Officer Powell, smoking a cigar with his feet propped up on the table. His coat is unbuttoned and his hat lies on top of a stack of papers next to a battered old revolver. He opens one eye and frowns at you, sighing through his cigar as he straightens himself up to look presentable.
If you're bothering me right now, I'm going to assume this is important.
You mention that you would like to see the police report for Professor William Harris's death, to which he replies with a snort.
You have no business dealing with that. And even if you did, this is my jurisdiction. Shove off and leave me in peace.
He doesn't seem cooperative, but perhaps you could convince him that you have some special circumstance that warrants you looking through his files.
Oh, I'm no good at social, but let's try and convince him, shall we? That's a fail on the fast talk. I'm not spending any luck on that.
You try to convince the officer that you have a particularly good reason for needing access to the file, but he simply doesn't care.
Scram, stranger. You're rolling in my smoke. If you want to dig at the dead guy, go bother his widow. Her place is over on the north side of town, right next to the church. Can't damn well miss it.
Officer Powell will be of no more help at this time.
Bloody pigs. All right, if you're going to be like that, I'm just going to go and bother the widow. Let's go find the Harris house.
You walk into town toward the Harris address. Even knowing the location, it's difficult for you to find your way due to your unfamiliarity with the town and the density of the peculiar green mist. As a result, it's some time before you arrive at the Harris house. As you approach the building, a man steps out of the fog, blocking your path. He is young and thin, with rather angular features and the faint hint of a mustache atop his lip. He is dressed in a dark suit and stares at you from beneath a flat cap.
You're an unwelcome surprise. I don't know what you're looking for, but you won't find it here.
Your eyes betray you as you glance at the Harris house. The man scowls visibly.
Why don't you leave the poor widow alone, you creep? If you want to bother her, you're gonna have to go through old Joshua here. Capiche?
His hand brushes beneath his coat as if searching for something, but then he stops himself. He pauses for a moment, looking you over once more before spitting on the ground at your feet and turning away.
Who the hell does that guy think he is? I'm going on to the Harris house. Screw him.
Despite Joshua's urgings, you feel compelled to speak to Amelia yourself. You approach the front of the house and note your surroundings. The house's exterior hints at the wealth of the occupants, but then again, so do most places in town. Directly across from the residence is a small church, whose religious iconography seems to have inspired the Harrises in the design of their own home. A bronze cross hangs over the front door, and decorative columns line the outside walls of the two-story house. All in all, the architectural style is somewhat Baroque, complete with a pair of carved angels lounging beneath the eaves that are just visible through the strange haze. You knock on the door and wait in the mist for a few moments, hoping for someone to hear you. Eventually, much to your relief, the widow Amelia answers the door. She's wearing a bright red dress, which accents her deep crimson lipstick. She appears to have taken great care over her appearance. She flashes you a smile and invites you inside. The house opens into a large foyer, and you see various crates and bundles stacked high along the walls.
Just selling off a few of the more common things. Mind the mess. The porter hasn't come for it yet.
She takes you by the hand to lead you past the stacks of items, helping you pick your way through the deceased Professor Harris's assembled possessions. She takes you into a small dining room full of antique furniture and offers you some coffee. After settling in and exchanging a few well-mannered pleasantries, you ask in more detail about the late Professor Harris. Amelia sighs theatrically and looks down at her hands.
I can't imagine what you want to ask about William. I found him in his study with the gun still in his mouth. What more could you want to know?
Oh, my dear, there are so many things you could tell me. However, right now, I just want to know the results of a psychology roll. Nope. Damn it, that's a big old fail. Not quite a fumble, but close enough.
You nod sympathetically. This woman is clearly uncomfortable talking about her deceased husband, and anyone would want to put that behind them. You pause for a moment, trying to frame your next question with a measure of sensitivity. You open your mouth to speak, but you're interrupted by a loud knock at the door. Amelia jumps up, startled, and stands there for a moment in confusion as the pounding on the door resumes.
Police, open the door.
Amelia's face drains white as she goes to answer the knock. Your gut tells you something is wrong here. You feel uneasy about the officer at the door. You tell yourself you're being irrational and on edge, but you have some trouble fighting that feeling. You have a few precious moments to react.
I'm gonna take the risk and I'm gonna hide. Stealth roll time. That's more like it.
Your hunches are never wrong. Whatever that officer is here for, you don't want any part of it. Glancing around, you weigh your options. You decide to creep toward Amelia and Officer Powell, positioning yourself behind a stack of items that are waiting for the porter. Neither of them seems to notice you as they rush past your hiding place, giving you a clear line to the door. Alternatively, now might be a good time to explore the house. While there is the risk of discovery, it's not as if you have anything to lose by snooping around somewhere you weren't supposed to be. For a brief moment, your gaze wanders to the staircase opposite the entryway. The bedrooms and study are likely up there, and you might be able to find some valuable information.
I'm a Call of Cthulhu investigator, damn it. I'm exploring this house.
You turn your attention to the set of stairs opposite the entrance. You ascend the staircase and see 2 doors, one to either side of you. The door to your left is slightly ajar and no doubt leads to the bedroom. By a process of elimination, the door to your right must lead to the study. It seems to be locked and you don't have a key. With enough time, you might be able to get the door open, but it would probably be unwise to spend too long trying, since someone may come to investigate.
In for a penny, in for a pound. Try the door. Okay, this is going to make me roll for luck. Okay, let's do this. Oh yes, coming thick and fast now.
You reach into your pocket and produce the bobby pin that you carry on you for just such an occasion. You insert it into the lock and fumble with it for a few minutes. It sticks and strains, and for several terrible seconds you fear that it will break in the lock. And then the tumblers give, and the door clicks open. You push your way into the small study and find the room much as you expected. The door opens across from a window which lets in the pale greenish light of the mist. This illuminates the room, which is adorned primarily with mostly empty bookcases. There are also several glass display cases throughout the room, but these are similarly empty. At the far end of the room, just beneath the window, is a desk, still littered with the professor's blood-soaked papers. Searching through the desk drawers, you find stacks of notes and various personal items. Buried in the bottom drawer, you find an impossibly old scrap of papyrus pressed into a glass frame. All across the ancient document are strange and unusual scrawls. As you pick it up to inspect it, you notice a sheet of paper lightly attached to the back of the frame, bearing the same scrawls as the papyrus, but with annotations in its margins. Presumably, this is a translation of the papyrus's text. As you read it over, you marvel at the impossibility of its content. The papyrus purports to be written by a priest from an unknown city by the name of Ilarnek. In this account, the priest records observations of an odd and ugly race of beings who once lived upon a lake in the forgotten land of Manar. The document goes into great detail about the fire rituals of these strange creatures, and speaks of the haunting dances they would perform in the light of the flames beneath the gibbous moon, and always under the watchful gaze of a sea-green stone idol, chiseled in the likeness of a great lizard. The priest's writings go on to mention rituals used to ward off the influence of that detestable creature, rituals performed by humans. The text for the ritual in the annotation is untranslated and simply rendered in standard characters so that it reads, Yahaya, Nog, Nuglui, Ah, Vokrak. The strange phrase sticks in your mind. You pause for a moment to consider the implications. You carefully detach the translation, fold it up and put it in your pocket as evidence before exiting the study. You turn around and leave the door closed behind you. Looking down the stairs, you realize that you are not alone. Dominating the entryway is Joshua, red-faced and furious. He has a gun in his right hand, which he quickly aims in your direction. You have just a second to hit the ground before he pulls the trigger. Perhaps your reflexes are quick enough.
Oh, crap. Don't roll. Don't let me know. Oh, yes.
You throw yourself to the floor with all haste, trying to get out of the line of fire. You hear the loud sound of the gunshot as a bullet embeds itself in the wall behind you. You hear a squeal as Amelia comes running after Joshua, begging him to stop shooting and put the gun away. He curses and shoves her aside, but he does holster the weapon. He rushes past her and up the stairs, just as you manage to stumble to your feet. He comes at you, swinging his fist. It's not ideal, but at least with the gun put away, you have a fighting chance.
Oh god, let's just go from bad to worse. Fighting rule. My fighting rule sucks. Oh, don't fail me now, dice. Oh god, yes! 0-1 critical. Oh, baby.
As Joshua towers over you, fists raised in rage, an idea crosses your mind. You pull both of your feet up and drive them into his chest. You kick him back with all your might, sending him tumbling down the stairs. You hear several thumps and thuds as Joshua rolls down the steps. When he reaches the bottom, he lays there, sprawled out and clearly injured. His groans betray his semi-conscious state, and you walk over to him confidently. With one final kick, you send him over the edge into unconsciousness. Amelia is mortified at the sight. She runs out into the street, fleeing the scene. You quickly search Joshua's pockets and find his wallet, which includes his identification with an address. A search of his other pocket reveals a house key. Several options are immediately apparent. You can continue searching the house, leave in pursuit of Amelia, or make your way to Joshua's house.
I don't want to leave any witnesses. Let's go after the widow.
You chase after Amelia Harris. She's vanished in the mist, but you're determined to find her. But determination alone is not enough to track down the wayward widow. After wandering through the fog for what feels like hours, you are certain that you are lost. After trying to get your bearings for some time, you finally find yourself outside the hotel, frustrated that Amelia has managed to escape you. You pause outside the hotel doorway, listening for the sounds of footsteps. The streets are eerily still and nearly silent. You fancy you hear something and set off in the general direction of the sounds. You wander the streets for what feels like hours. Your suspicions are seemingly confirmed as it gets harder and harder to see, the lack of visibility caused by the mists compounded by the fading light. Dusk falls hard and fast, and you're left roaming the streets in darkness. As you contemplate abandoning your task, you tense up and freeze as you hear a nauseating, squelching sound suddenly begin behind you. A sense of terror washes over you as the unexpected sound breaks the silence. You are ruled by a sense of unease and are driven to run, though you don't know why. You do not wish to find out.
Time to run. That'll be the dexterity check. That's 71. I'd have to spend 21 points. To hell with it, this is a one-shot. Let's do it.
You quickly duck into the hotel, avoiding whoever or whatever is out there. You pause for a few moments to gather your thoughts. Darkness has come, and your job is not yet done. With perseverance, you may yet finish your task. The most obvious choice is to resume the investigation. Another potential course of action is to simply cut your losses and leave. You could try to abandon Esbury on foot, and you must admit that the idea is tempting, despite being wholly impractical. The place has not been good to you. Of course, you could always simply sleep on it, stay another night in the hotel, and hope to either continue your work or move on in the morning. You aren't certain why, but you feel a vague sense of unease at the idea of spending a second night here. You try to push the thought from your mind as you come to a firm decision.
Things are definitely hotting up. The stakes are certainly getting high. Let us continue the investigation.
You collect yourself and step out into the mist, determined to get to the bottom of this. The fog is thick and night has fallen. At this stage, you have few, if any, leads to investigate. While this is far from ideal, your best option seems to be patrolling the streets, looking for something out of the ordinary, more so than what you've already seen. You begin cautiously walking down the streets, making sure to keep up a brisk pace and an open ear for anything that might be lurking in the mist. The streets are eerily silent, except for your own footsteps. You pass houses and places of business. Little seems to stand out at first, but with a bit of persistence and luck, you may just find something.
Okay, let's keep looking. That will require me to make a luck roll. Ooh, wow. 04, extreme.
You prowl the town, hoping desperately to find some source or clue. The water rises, and soon it's past your ankles. You splash through the streets, clinging to hope. It seems your faith was not misplaced. As you move through the mist, a man slams into you. You recognize him to be one of the dark-suited gentlemen from the ferry yesterday. The man is wide-eyed and pale. He carries a gun in one hand and drags a sizable object behind him through the rising water. You glance down and see it's an altarpiece, with bright jewels studded across its surface. You also notice a sack bulging with heavy goods tied about his waist. The man fixes his wild eyes upon you.
What are you doing? We have to run! They're coming for us, for everyone! We have to go!
The man seems ready to panic, but perhaps you can calm him.
Now just calm down. But let's see if my dice agree with that statement on the persuade roll. Ooh, 34, that is a pass.
You manage to calm the man, assuring him that he has at least a moment to explain what's going on. He takes a couple of deep breaths before coming clean.
Look, I don't know what the hell is happening. Joshua called us out here, but he didn't say anything about this. Whatever's going on, it isn't natural. Once things started going south, I grabbed the most valuable-looking things I could find, and I ran.
He gestures down to the gemstone-studded altar he's lugging around. You stoop down to inspect it and notice letters scrawled across the side. The writing is incredibly strange and unfamiliar, but you can attempt to translate it.
Let's take a goosey gander to see if we can't translate these hieroglyphics, or whatever the writing is. Archaeology roll. Do I really want to spend... That's going to be most of my remaining luck. You know what? As Scott Dorwood always says, you either push the roll or spend the luck. It'll be more interesting that way. Let's do it. Let's spend all that luck.
You look over the characters scrawled in blood across the altar's side. You realize they're an obscure dialect of ancient Indian origin. And although you cannot translate them properly, you can pronounce the characters phonetically. Yahaya, Nog, Nuglui, Ah, Bokrug. As you recite the words, the dark-suited man looks at you as if you're completely mad. That is, until the mist around you begins to swiftly dissipate, and the waters stop rising. The man looks at you with wide eyes like you're some kind of miracle worker, and perhaps you are. Though you don't fully understand what it is that you've done, you've somehow put a stop to what's going on here. Joshua's former henchman probes you for answers for a while, but you assure him you are just as surprised as he is, and eventually he parts ways with you. Over the next few days, the water subsides in Esbury, and eventually the ferry begins operation again. You take the first ride out, eager to leave this place and the strange occurrences behind you. Though you haven't solved the mystery surrounding the events taking place in Esbury, you have put a stop to them, at least for the time being. The man with the artifacts will eventually sell them off for quick cash, and the tragedy will then repeat itself elsewhere. Only this time there will be no one to prevent it from fully taking shape. But you will never know this, and it isn't your concern. You only have to live with what happened in the little Massachusetts town, and you will carry that memory with you forever. You have survived. Your visit to Esbury is over. The end.
I may not have resolved the case, but I survived it. I think ultimately that, as far as I'm concerned, is slightly more important. There you have it. Alone against the tide. See, that is how you do it, Morgana. We hope you've enjoyed this latest episode of what we have decided to dub the Daddy Against series. If you enjoy this, then let us know in the Discord. Links can be found in the notes. We already have plans to cover the alternative path of Alone Against the Static, as well as Morgana's completely bizarre run on Alone Against the Frost. Let's actually explore the woods this time. If you'd like to give us your choice of what you'd like to hear first, or other stories you'd like to hear given this once-over treatment by yours truly, then drop us a message and let us know over on Discord or wherever you make contact with us. Until next time, remember we are all just figments of a dreaming idiot god.